Today, we count down the 5 scariest cyborgs in Star Wars Legends. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars Legends Top 5 list. Today we are looking at cyborgs, living beings augmented with droid or mechanical parts. I want to keep this list weird, so I won't be including any beings which appeared in either the original trilogy or any of the TV shows. That means no Lobot, no Darth Vader, no General Grievous, no post-injuries Admiral Trench, but pretty much everyone else is fair game regardless of the extent of their cybernetic enhancements. Coming in at number 5 is really an entire category of cyborgs. I'm gonna call them Sith Lords. Sith Lords often used machines to compensate for battle wounds. Obviously, the most famous example of this would be Anakin Skywalker, but we also see it with Malak, Tenebris, Plagueis, and many more. I'd like to focus, however, on one specific individual, Lumia. Lumia was basically the female Darth Vader, which makes sense because she trained directly under the Sith Lord. While working undercover with the Rebel Alliance, Lumia was seriously injured after being shot down by Luke Skywalker. She was only saved through the use of extensive cybernetics. She'd also learned the dark side of the Force, becoming a master in the unique but incredibly deadly laser whip. She would spend the rest of her life trying to destroy the Rebel Alliance and then the later New Republic. What's so frightening is her longevity and the full extent to which she dedicated herself to the dark side. She heavily used torture and murder, and was involved in so many major galactic events, from the Toph invasion to the transformation of Jacen Solo into Darth Caedus. She was evil, more machine than being, and was only finally stopped after being decapitated by Luke Skywalker. At number 4, we have Trachta. Although many in the Empire had a disdain for cybernetics, due to the Clone Wars and the many other conflicts that engulfed the galaxy, high-ranking Imperial cyborgs were not at all uncommon. My favorite Imperial cyborg, and probably the scariest, is Trachta. The cyborg who was injured during the Clone Wars was a prominent Moff within the Empire. He was extensively modified with cybernetic arms, lungs, and eyes. Trachta's eyes are actually the creepiest thing about him in my opinion. Not only are they red, but he has a third eye on the back of his head. He was also known for killing others with the strength of his robotic fists. The Moff was part of a conspiracy to overthrow Darth Vader and Palpatine as heads of the Empire, but the coup was unsuccessful and his attempts were rewarded with death. At number 3, we have another dark side user, though not a Sith. Specifically Chronal, otherwise known as Blackhole, one of the Empire's most mysterious dark side adepts. To be fair, Chronal wasn't a cyborg until the end of his life, but his ghastly final form and what we know of him as a person make him quite frightening. Chronal worked for Imperial Intelligence as Blackhole, while also working with Sith alchemy and serving Vader and Palpatine directly. He had many hidden labs across the galaxy where he conducted unspeakable experiments. For example, he created some of the Dark Jedi, which are featured in the Dark Forces video game. With the death of Palpatine, Chronal waged war against the New Republic under the pseudonym Shadow Spawn. He was thought killed, but re-emerged during the Dark Empire campaign as a full cyborg. In this state, his focus changed to infusing the dark side into cybernetics, and he perfected the Akira-esque Mechaduru technique. We'll talk about this in a later entry, but it all comes together to create a monster of not only the dark side of the Force, but also cybernetics. It is true that Chronal was actually written as several different characters, but I think he was retconned in a fairly neat way to be one person. And especially given the fact that he was first introduced in the old Marvel Star Wars comics, he's one of my favorite unimportant Star Wars Legends characters. At number 2, we have cybernetic starfighters. Cybernetic starfighters are created when the mind and brain of a living person are removed and infused into a starfighter, making pilot and ship one. The most famous example of this is the Dark Empire Shadow Droid, which took the minds of injured starfighter pilots and inserted them into new hyper-advanced starfighters. However, more than that, the pilots were also taught how to access the dark side. This construct, to me at least, is so terrifying because I wouldn't want to either fight these machines or be one of the pilots. Imagine basically being trapped inside a machine body with no purpose other than to fight. And more than that, Palpatine is also heavily influencing you and touching you with the dark side of the Force. Shadow droids are almost surely inspired by and remind me very much of Cylon Raiders from the Battlestar Galactica series. Coming in at number 1, we have the Technobeast. Technobeasts were a type of Sith spawn, an ancient technique used to mold a target through the dark side of the Force. This example is particularly scary and disgusting, as it involves a living being slowly being turned into a machine. Now, unfortunately, there's only really one picture of this condition from the new Essential Guide to Droids, so you'll have to stick with me here. You turn into a Technobeast by being infected by very small droids, which would bore their way into your brain. These droids would lobotomize their target, also slowly rotting away their flesh and growing machine tumors. Due to their mental decline, they'd turn into a sort of zombie, with knives, teeth, and protrusions as their main weapons. The worst part is, Technobeasts are usually capable of infecting others with their virus, so not only do they have ghastly appearances, but they're also quite deadly. Turning into a Technobeast has to be one of the worst fates in the Star Wars universe, and only the pure hatred and violence of the dark side of the Force could facilitate such a creation. And those are my 5 scariest cyborgs within Star Wars Legends. What do you think? Is there one that stuck out particularly? Let me know in the comments, but also vote in the upper right hand corner. Don't forget to let me know if you have any ideas for future videos, and of course, subscribe and like this video if you haven't already. Until next time guys, this has been EckhartsLadder. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.